Good afternoon, everyone. Delighted to be here. Thanks for having me, and thanks for saying. Hopefully we can see it out with this one almost now. So my name is Murtagh Murphy. I'm in R&D with Stryker. Been in a mechanical engineering background. Been in medical devices for over 23 years or so. 13 years of that in neurovascular. And I'd like to share with you today some of the latest technology we have in stroke, and also maybe a view of the kind of philosophy that we take as we design stroke solutions as well. So I'm not going to talk about all of these devices today, but I do want to emphasize the system approach here, and that we, regardless, this is like, 2,000 years ago, lots of religions going around competing. There is a lot of different strategies going around for stroke right now, but we do believe that we've got a system and an approach that works pretty much for most of them. And in addition to that, we've designed all these devices very much to be compatible with each other. So for example, FlowGate there, our most recent balloon guide, we realized that our older Mercy balloon, its ID wasn't big enough to handle the newer generation aspiration catheters. So each time as we upgrade one device, we look across our full suite and ensure that they're compatible. And in our testing, we also don't just test the new device, we test their compatibility with the existing devices. So we believe that with this suite of devices, you can choose your approach based on how you interpret the clinical data, how you interpret your own experience, and so forth. So first, maybe I'll focus on the FlowGate actually. And just some headlines there. This is the FlowGate 2. Some of you may have used the FlowGate 1, which I'll also refer to in a minute now. But this latest one was launched just last year. Key headlines there, it's consistently and quickly can access the ICA, and it's fully compatible with our own Cat6. Some people are fitting some of the other bigger catheters into it, but we haven't really tested for that. And all I can say is it works very well with the Cat6, which I'll also talk about. And if you look at some of the dimensions there, so, the new 8 French FlowGate has an ID of 084, which is almost the same as our 9 French Mercy, which is 85. As you can see there, the old 8 French was only 78, which would mean it pretty much couldn't be used with any of the current new generation of aspiration catheters, and the same with Cello. And more recently, actually, I'm not going to talk about it today, but we actually have added a long sheet for those who really do want to use the biggest catheters and want a guide to go with it. Just some basic features here about it. Comes in 2 lengths, they're 85 and 95. The balloon is 10 by 10, fully inflated, the ID 84, as I said. It does have 5 transition zones, and it's braided in stainless all the way. Just in terms of what we did track was one of the feedbacks we got for Mercy and why some people weren't using it. So we sought to make it more trackable, and as you can see there, both our own Mercy 8 French and the Cello, we got the force down by 25%. That's just showing the test method there. This is what we did with the braid technology. So historically the Mercy family and our first FlowGate actually had a 2/2 round wire braid. Takes up a lot of real estate. Hence we moved here to a 2 round over a flat, and we could reduce the wall thickness but maintain the same support. We also moved the supportive element a little bit more distally, because as I'll show you in some coming slides, FlowGate 1, while it was a super trackable device, some people did find, particularly if they didn't deliver it far enough, that it could prolapse at the arch in certain cases. Actually, the test method we use for this, so it simply actually is just a dead end path here with the arch. So we put the balloon guide right up to the end, and then we have a dilator inside of it, and then we push a fixed force on that dilator. So there's nowhere for it to go. So all that can happen is that the balloon guide starts to prolapse back, and we measure then the amount of prolapse for that force. So as you can see, for that force, our first FlowGate there, you can see a lot of prolapse. It prolapsed the most. You can see, as you'd expect, the 9 French has the least. But with those changes I just talked about in the shaft design and so forth, we can get the Flowgate 2 now to have support like 8 French, but have that bigger ID to take those big aspiration catheters. So that was a significant achievement on that project. So just again highlighting the advantages of a balloon guide, that you have that stable tip, particularly when you're retracting other devices into it. And we have transitioned the support a bit more past the arch there to ensure it doesn't prolapse. And then I've just put in a few snaps here of some clinical data across a number of different trials. So you can see there across multiple trials, including Swift Prime, if you do the sub-analysis, in all cases there, the revascularization was higher with the group that used balloon guides versus that didn't. Also, the first pass success there was higher on those two. You can see here the procedure time across a lot of them was also less. And MRS at 90 days there, better in those two. Interesting there in Swift Prime, significant reduction in infarct size at 27 hours and reduced rescue therapies. So some clinical support there as well. Okay, on to Cat6, our new generation of distal access catheters. So we do recognize that there is a place for aspiration catheters. As the conversation went earlier, there is an element of belt and braces. It's all very well, all this characterization of clot, but until we can preoperatively just figure out what the clot is, you don't know what you're dealing with. So the chances of a silver bullet device anytime soon being able to deal with every clot all the time is slim enough. So certainly the aspiration catheter does add something to the arsenal. And our strategy on this was to make it super trackable, because like a lot of people do believe, unless you can get it up to the clot, it's not going to do much. Back to the whole system approach, we wanted a single device that every time would get to the clot. And that was the whole focus of Cat6. And you can see that we measured it against other devices at the time we were developing it. So you can see the max range there going from there to there. And I can tell you that the 68 actually has improved on the 64, bringing it back closer to the 5 max. And the new Sophia Plus is in this range here as well. But on all of our test methods, the Cat6 tracks better than anything out there. And I'll show you a little bit of why that is. So that's just the basics of the working length there and the 14 centimeters distal zone. And the proximal here in thousandths of inch, for those of you want that, is 79. So very comfortably fits in that 84 in the Flowgate. Okay, this is where the track performance is coming from. And a lot of people do have multiple transitions in their aspirations catheters, but we have gone a bit further here. We've gone from stainless to nitinol. And on top of that, the nitinol here isn't just nitinol, it's actually heat set, which is a manufacturing feat in doing that when you have polymers present also. So all the usual, I suppose, progressive changing and stiffness in the right places. There's a lot of iteration here to get this right. We tested with over 100 physicians to optimize this. And this polymer stretch resistance is there's actually a Kevlar type liquid crystal polymer in here in the distal portion. So we were able to go to a super, super soft polymer at this end and not pay the price of stretching by having a very high performance tensile member in here. So that combination of the heat set nitinol, the super kind of Kevlar type polymer strands, and the very soft polymer, softer than anything that is in any other catheter we have, is what's giving us that track combined with that proximal support. And then it's a very robust catheter. That picture doesn't do it justice. You can tie that knot to full tightness. You can see there that the kink radius is less than 1 millimeter. And that comes from that nitinol flat wire. Obviously nitinol is super elastic. And even if you do manage to ovalize it a bit, it will bounce back. And that's quite important, obviously, for aspiration and any of the techniques. And I won't name out any other catheters, but we were increasingly aware that people are doing all sorts of things with these. They're pulling in stent retrievers either partially or fully. And we have tested some other devices, and they do crumble or don't quite take that quite well. So we did have test methods to ensure that we can pull our Trevos into this successfully. And I'll just close out here again. I think I'd have to. I'm just going to do one slide on Trevo. You're all very familiar with Trevo, particularly here in Spain. And it's like a lot of people have stent retrievers now, but I still think we have a full range here of all the 3, 4, and 6 millimeters, fully visible. We're not the only ones anymore, but we were the first to be fully visible. And it is very much about designing to integrate with the clot, and hence the large cells. We have the largest cells, and they do run 360 around the device. That's just a picture in a porcine model there. With the sail on it looks clear, but we get a high radial force with a big cell. And, it never happens like in the pictures. The clot doesn't fully come in, but it does come in significantly, and the bigger the cell, the better. So that combination of continuing to improve and upgrade our stent retriever technology. We've actually made improvements to our catheter. We've just updated our flow gate, working on Synchro, and Cat6 launch. And we're back working on all of these again, actually, as a system, and we'll continue that philosophy of designing our devices together so that you can get a full solution from us, and that you're assured that they're all been proven to work together. Gracias. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Comments?
Very nice presentation, Murtagh. What is the current? Do we have Cat6 indication in the US for aspiration?
In the US, not. We have in Europe, and hopefully soon in the US.
Do you have that in Spain? Do you have indication for aspiration?
All of Europe.
All Europe.
Yeah.
What is the idea of the Cat6 compared to the A68?
The Cat6 is exactly it's 060.
Okay, so the same ID aspiration as the ACE?
No, the latest, same as the 5 Max, same as the earlier ACE was the 5 Max and 5 Max ACE, but the latest 068.
So the Cat6 is 60?
Yes. But do keep in mind that those bigger catheters, the price that's being paid is they're not really compatible with Flowgate. We'll even proximal flow arrest, a lot of interventionists do with increasing data to show the benefits, and back to our system approach. Now, like I said, we're revisiting the whole system, but we do want to bring it along together. And, but that track, we think, does pay off on the Cat6.
So that was my next question to you, and last one, I promise. I've used 68 with the Flowgate. Flowgate is a workhorse for us, Flowgate 2. And definitely what you described that for us, that the prolapse of the first generation Flowgate was an issue. Kink on the groin, kink on the arch with the Flowgate 2, that's much better. There are two, we were just in a meeting with David Fiorella. He used 68 consistently to the Flowgate 2 with no problem. For us, it's a 50-50. Sometimes you can get through the 68, sometimes we're not. How do you explain that?
Report, so we're not going to say it's compatible. We didn't test it. Some people are happy enough to live with an out push. I just would wonder a little bit, the coatings haven't been tested for that type of interference fit. You're still getting proximal flow arrest, but as you pull in, you're probably not getting any aspiration around the intermediate catheter. People are getting good results, and I also was at SNIS and saw David's presentation on Flowgate and some of the latest things he's doing. So we're very excited about where balloon guides are going and the possibilities that they offer.
Any thoughts on? Have you seen the systems for automatic or a manual aspiration not connected to pump? So if you could have, I've seen some syringe-like things that you're able to place on the flow gate while so to free up your hands.
Control medical, I think.
That's right. I think so I was wondering how much of an interest you guys have had on creating some more automatized aspiration.
I'll say we're interested in everything to do with the system, and we're currently working on every part of it. We're looking at improved technology to generate the vacuum. I won't say what it is, but we are working across the full system, from wire, working on it on stroke wire, pretty much every part of it we're working on.
And the other aspect, I mean, I think there's tremendous improvement on balloon prep. It's much better now than what used to be, but I think that that is an area that you know, you can always do faster and easier to do that.
Number 2 on my list for the next gen one that I'm working on right now.
Yeah. Now, have you seen the results of Aster trial?
Sorry?
Aster trial. So Michelle, I think, is going to present an ISC, but it's just basically the first randomized trial aspiration versus stent retriever.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yes. What have you heard about that?
But it's going to show at least equivalency, I suspect. And like my own personal view on it is that there's a place for aspiration, and sometimes it depends on what if you really value first pass above everything else, and you just want to go up with the same strategy every time and get the highest possible first pass results, you're probably better with something like the full system. I don't know, if you really value a significant amount of the time getting a very quick and easy solution, perhaps aspiration is a good one, but then you have to willing to go to the next step and possibly any consequences of what you may have done on the first step. So I think it's an evolving. I'm reasonably open-minded to how all this will play out, and that's why we're working on all aspects of the system.
How about the issue of posterior circulation?
Sorry, posterior
Circulation. So vertebral artery balloon guide placement.
Well, it's not a key focus point for us right now. I know some. I mean, I think most people are just working with aspiration catheters alone. Maybe some American. Give me some.
It may be another trial that will be, you know, showing that there may be a role and indication for posterior circulation, and that could be another area that may need something there.
Yeah, I think some of the most exciting thing back to what Dale Pirella, some of the people are looking at the moment, is I'm back to my friend from Murtagh earlier about the different types of clots, and that perhaps, you know, the low fibrin, very soft clots may be amenable to be removed from quite a distance with flow rest, and that area is quite interesting. And I think every 6 months new information will come out, and that's why we're bringing a system forward to deal with all eventualities.